Welcome back, guys, to my podcast, Lauren Drains Triggered. Today, I'm going to be doing a solo podcast. I'll be talking to George, who's engineering in the studio. Hi, George.
Hello, kind people that decide to listen to Lauren Drains Triggered podcast.
Let's go. So today, I decided to go ahead and talk a little bit about mental health. As you guys have known, if you follow me on Instagram at LaurenDrainFit, I've posted a lot about mental health, my personal journey, kind of where I've got to where I'm at, and just like the struggles that, you know, a lot of us actually go through. I think the one really cool thing about social media is we get a chance to share, you know, vulnerable parts of ourselves, relatable parts, and connect. And in this particular case, you guys, my followers, you guys have actually helped me find some very therapeutic therapies for myself. So I'll go ahead and just get straight into it. I don't know. I'll kind of go from the beginning. So if you haven't already seen my original first podcast, I have a little bit of history with the Westboro Baptist Church, which was a religious church or cult that I was part of from ages 14 to 21. So that pivotal period of my life, that chapter of my life really, especially the getting banished out of it, heavily impacted my mental well-being. So if you didn't already know about that part, I actually did write a book about it. It's called Banished: Surviving My Years in the Westboro Baptist Church. And I do go into a lot of details on my life before, during, and after cult life. So I'll kind of just go ahead and start with it. I'll give you some brief overview, a lot of different letters that define the mental health issues that I've had to struggle with and deal with over the course of the last 37 years of my life. I've dealt with ADHD, which ironically, I have not known that I had all of my years as a child and an adolescent and even in college. I was not diagnosed with ADHD until I was 28. So I had already been through college, working as a nurse, married, in a full-blown relationship, and I was struggling with a lot of things like forgetfulness, memory, disorganization, just really struggling. I'd always struggled on taking tests in school. But it kind of came to a head where I was just like, what is going on? I am losing my keys every day, my phone every day. I often forget what I'm saying, why I'm in a room. It was just like so much struggle bus happening later on in life. And I'm going to go see the doctor. I'm going to see what's going on here. So I did end up seeing an ADHD specialist, and I don't know if it passed is the right word. I aced the test with flying colors, aced the ADHD test. So they're like, yes, you absolutely have this. There's no question. You've probably dealt with it your whole life.
Did they write A+ on the paper?
Yes. So I actually, that was the one test I did well on. You know, I got a ace the ADHD test. So every other test in school, throughout nursing school and things, I really struggled with. I never really knew why. I do remember being in nursing school. My best friend at the time, this was when I was in the church, JL, her and I went to all the same classes. Every single class was the same. You know, we would study the same time after school in the library. So we spent all the same amount of time doing the same things, and she would ace her tests, ace all of her things, and I would really struggle to get an A. Like I would usually get Bs. You know, once you average it all out, I would get like a low A, but I really had to study a lot harder, and I really struggled with my test taking skills. So I wish I had known this in college. I wish I had known it growing up, but you know, it was something I really did have. So ADHD is, you know, some people can consider it a mental health issue. It's where you struggle with focusing and things like that. So that's one thing I noticed that I was struggling with. And I kind of struggled with anxiety and depression definitely after I got kicked out of the church. I'll kind of set the scene for why that was the case. But while I was in the church, none of the believers, the elders, the people of the church believed in mental health issues. I mean, I think they kind of categorize everything that you have as either good or evil. So if you were forgetful, you were like flighty and evil and kind of like satanic. So I always got a lot of anxiety around that forgetful nature of mine, thinking that there must be something wrong with me. I'm kind of, you know, satanic. I can't keep my shit straight. They really just denied the reality of mental health issues. I remember even in the church when the pastor, Fred Phelps at the time, he was having a lot of like manic issues where he would like cycle so many hours a day for so many days a week. He would do a lot of what I perceive to be manic behaviors. He would fast for 30 days or 30 nights, 40 days, 40 nights. He would, I don't know, there's a lot of behaviors where he was just manically, obsessively doing it without rationale. And I kind of remember being in nursing school thinking like, okay, this is very, very manic-like behaviors, and we're not even recognizing it as such. So when I would bring it up to the other church members, like, no, this is not how it is. He's just not following the rules. He's not being, godly, or there's some issues going on. Maybe it's demonic or something like that. So I remember at a very young age, I kind of got brainwashed into believing that even though I was in nursing school and I knew mental health was real, I wasn't able to identify it as such from, an adolescent. So, but as I end up getting kicked out of the church, and I remember I was constantly trying to reach out to my parents. I was like, listen, can I come home for dinner? Can I come home, go to church on Sunday? Can I reconnect with my family? It really stressed me out because basically the day that I got kicked out, it was after three days of working at the hospital as a nurse. So it's like end of 3 days shift. I get home. They decide that I'm kicked out. They're banishing me out of the family. They're banishing me out of the church. I'm no longer a member. I have to basically look at my siblings and say goodbye to them, which I don't know is the last time I'm going to see them. But, you're in a panic mode, because I've seen other members of the church get kicked out of their families and lives. I've seen people get banished before me. Most of them are adults, but I knew it was a real thing. So the threat was still there. So I'm definitely in full-blown panic mode in my mind, trying to salvage my relationship with my family, salvage my faith, salvage me being even part of the church. And it was just all stripped away from me in an instant. So it was very devastating. I think even in the moment that it was happening, I was kind of numb to it. I don't know if I was dissociating, but I remember it being a very numb, blurring experience to come home from work and see that my parents are like, okay, you have to pack your bags. You have 30 minutes to pack your bags. Just being in a rush, being in a blur, not knowing how to say goodbye, not knowing if it's the last time I'm saying goodbye. And then, putting everything in my bags and being dropped off at a hotel. Like this wasn't like a situation where I could have a conversation on the couch and we could discuss things, or I could apologize. I remember I was just in full blown like fight or flight. I was just like, oh my gosh, this is really happening to me. And, as we're taught when I was in this cult and in this church, you have to obey. So if I was to resist this event happening to me and say, no, I'm staying, or I don't agree, that is an act of rebellion, and it furthers your punishment and it makes your punishment worse. So I had a very difficult time rebelling against what was happening to me because I was afraid the punishment would get worse. So right now I'm getting dropped off at a hotel. Maybe I'll just be living somewhere for a few months. Maybe I can reconnect with my family. I don't know that this is the end. So I was kind of like just listening to what they were telling me to do, which is go to the hotel, stay away from us, no contact. You can't call us at home. You can't call your siblings. You can't call your parents. You can't come to church. You can't see your friends. And you have to understand, if I haven't already explained this before, I was part of a church where the only people I knew and associated with were the people in the church. So getting kicked out, I'm losing all of my family, all of my friends, and anyone I ever associated with in school. So I'm losing everything at once. All of my family, all of my friends, all of my reality, my faith, my just everything. My world is crumbling. I have nothing left. So it was a blind side to me. I didn't see it coming. I didn't know it was going to be this abrupt. I didn't know there was going to be no way to apologize my way out of it, or to be sorry enough, or to have a second chance. So it really did shock me to my core. And the crazy thing about this, I didn't know this then, and this happened to me when I was 21 going on 22. I'm now 37. I've been dealing with mental health issues since then, and they've only sort of progressed and gotten more elevated the older I've gotten. I would say that I probably had the most mental health issues right after the church kicked me out, when I got super depressed and suicidal, and then again later on in life, right around 2020 and 2021, when other precipitating events transpired in my life. Certain really aggressive stressors were happening at those times. So when I first got kicked out of the church and it hit me, you are cut off, you're banished. Like, there's no hope. There's no fixing this. No one's helping you. I just remember like crying and praying that God will show me the way, that I'll have some guide or sense of knowledge of where to go, what to do. Is there any hope in changing this? And, I had a lot of shame because I was like, wow, I really did screw up my whole life. I screwed up my family. I'm ashamed to my family. They're cutting me off. my whole life was my family, and now I don't have that. I thought the whole world was evil, so now I'm part of the world. It's evil. I had the threat of the impending death and doom. Basically, anytime you got kicked out of this church, it was assumed that God was going to punish you with death, disease, some other terrible tragedy, and you're now outside of the realm of God's protection. So it's just all of these levels of abuse. It's like emotional abuse, psychological abuse, spiritual abuse. And of course, I don't think that at the time. I think that I'm in the wrong, that this all came upon my head because of what I have done or failed to do. And this abandonment that happened, this severe abandonment by church, family, community, it was devastating. And it kind of, what it does is leads to black and white thinking. So you catastrophize, this event, because I didn't see it coming and I thought everything was fine. Now going forward in life, when certain tragic events happen to me, I catastrophize. I'm like, oh my gosh, I should have seen this coming. I didn't see the precipitating factors. I didn't see that I should have been sorry. I didn't see that I should have over-explained. I didn't see that I was supposed to apologize better. So that's how this event transpired. Now, when it comes to PTSD or complex PTSD, I was diagnosed right around 2020, 2021 when a bunch of stuff happened, which I will get into. But the difference between PTSD and complex PTSD is usually a really intense panic triggers around an enemy. So someone who's trying to do you wrong. It could be in war. It could be, maybe a bully. So that's more PTSD. Complex PTSD is when someone you love and trusted, someone who is supposed to keep you safe, someone you love and care for, they do the betrayal trauma on you. So now it's a double whammy. It's something called cognitive dissonance. Cognitive dissonance. It's when your brain did not expect that person or that situation to occur, and it's so beyond your realm of rationale that it literally is a mind fuck. You're like, I love this person. Why would this person do this to me? So betrayal trauma becomes so intense, and it's a whole other layer of trauma, because now in life, when you get close to people that you love, care for, a bond with, whatever, you now have this fear subconsciously that's going to happen to you again. So small little things that trigger you to think, okay, someone's betraying me, they're gossiping about me, they're talking behind my back. It could be something as benign as that, where, okay, maybe the rest of us don't really like that act, but it doesn't cause a severe level of panic. Now, when the 2020, 2021 hit, obviously 2020, we're all enduring coronavirus, the lockdown, these vaccines, it's just a whole shit show of a lockdown mess and a worldwide crisis. Well, that was happening. Ironically, that was not the reason I was going into panic. I actually had somewhat of a beautiful experience. I think some people I've actually talked to had this similar experience where, because we were on lockdown, because we were at home with our families and spending a lot more time with our family, we had kind of a bonding experience, or some people spent more time with their family. That was me. I was home with my daughter, Aria, who's 6 months old. My husband and my sister Grace, she's at home helping take care of Aria with us. She did a lot of nannying jobs and personal assistant jobs. We got very close, and we got to bond for a year and a half together at home, and it was amazing. And then Dave's sister, she had a tragic event happen where she lost her fiance, and he was very young, and he was the father of my niece Raven, and she, it was tragedy struck our family. And so we took her in and we said, listen, Maria, you're going to live with us. We're all going to help raise Raven together. Raven was 4 months at the time. Aria was 6 months at the time. So we had a perfect little, niche for the babies to be raised together in the home. So we spent quarantine with babies in the home, raising them together. So it was a very good bonding experience. Me, Dave, Maria, Grace, Raven, and Aria. And I actually personally, for the first time since the Westboro, where I lost my family unit, I felt true family love again. I felt true bond and love amongst family, even though we call ourselves the House of Drama because we're kind of a dysfunctional family. We even called ourselves the Sister Wives because it was Dave, the patriarch, Maria, his sister, Grace, my sister, and then 2 babies. Okay, that looks like what? A patriarch, a Mormon family, polygamy, I don't know. No, I'm just joking. But it was funny. We had our little thing and we all had our little trauma and dramas that we were all enduring, but we came together as a family to bond. Now, this was really impactful for me, but the issue that started to arise and surface over time is that I still had this betrayal trauma that I have not healed from. So little things would come up, which really shouldn't trigger a person under normal circumstances. And that's usually what happens with like PTSD, is that something very small, maybe not small, but not going to set someone off into a fit of rage, not going to set someone off into a panic attack, not going to set someone off into a downward depressing suicidal spiral. These small little events, like, it could be with PTSD, it could be fireworks or some loud noise. With complex PTSD, it was things like I would hear someone talking about me behind my back. Like they had like a meeting about something behind my back. And with the church, they held a meeting behind my back and I got kicked out for it. I lost my whole family over it. So my body was starting to go into full-blown fight or flight panic over small little things, like a little conversation, a little bit of like what I perceived to be gossip or negative talk. And I would catastrophize and I would go into a full-blown panic. And my panic attacks were getting severe. I'm talking like I was having seizure-like panic attacks, like tonic-clonic. If you're a nurse or the medical field, like you would seize and fall to the ground and hit my head on the concrete, and I had no control over my body. And these were very scary because I knew a little bit about panic attacks. I wasn't a mental health nurse, but I had studied the field, and I thought panic attacks is kind of where you hyperventilate, your vitals are stable, you have a little anxiety and you get over it. Well, mine were going full-blown to the point that I was having them every day. Well, I was having them progressively throughout 2020. So we had the 2 babies living there. We were all grieving. My brother-in-law at the time, we lost him. He was a beautiful human. He was the father of my niece, and we all had to grieve his loss, especially Maria and Dave. And it was just really, really heavy. It was something I'd never dealt with, grief that close to home. And I kind of absorbed a lot of like the impact of that grief, I feel like, and that stressed me out. You have 2 babies, so at times that's going to be a little stressful if they're not sleeping or they're crying. I was more than happy to do it, but there were times where it was stressful. And then my dog, Max, who I'd had for 12 years, he came down with cancer. We were trying to figure out how to help him with that. And then he literally basically was dying right in front of me. I watched his tumor grow. It took over his bladder and his bowels. He had to pee and poo all day long. And I just watched my dog, my best friend. And you have to imagine my dog was my family member. After I lost all my family, he was my family. So it's just like one thing after the other started slowly chipping away at my confidence, at my mental health. And it was like kind of snowballing. And here I am not knowing how bad my anxiety is, and the triggers start coming out. So the panic attacks start coming and they get more frequent. Then I get COVID, which I'm sure a bunch of us got COVID. My COVID was really intense. Like I had 21 days of like moderate to severe chest pain. I could not eat. I could not hold down food. I had the smell and taste issues too, but I literally lost 20 pounds in 20 days without trying. So now on top of my mental health, I'm having these panic attacks every other day. I'm feeling anxious. I have the COVID. I also want to mention that at this time, I reconnected with my family. So my immediate family that I hadn't seen in 14 years or 13 or 14 years came back into my life. I started having communications with them. My body had a hard time processing. I think my mind had a hard time processing. Are these people good for you? Because I had all these associations built up over time that these people, I don't even know if it's subconscious. I don't think it's conscious. I think it's subconsciously I built up in my mind, these people are not safe for you. And I had developed some anxieties around them. I've developed a lot of narratives around them being evil for me, or maybe they caused my pain over all these years, because I lost my family because of the church, but they didn't really stop it from happening at the time. They didn't try to connect with me over all these years. And every time I would reach out and try to connect, I was shut down for 13 years. I'm talking every time I emailed, every time I called, every time I sent letters or packages. So my subconscious tried to protect myself. My ego, subconscious, whatever you want to call it, tried to protect me by saying anything that comes from these people is betrayal. I didn't think it that way, but my body would react that way. So I would literally go, and they weren't even doing anything evil to me, which is irony. They literally were just talking to me through Skype. It was my mother, my father, my younger brother, my younger sister, who I was enthralled to see, by the way. I was so happy to see them. So my mind is telling me I'm happy, this is good, but my body, my subconscious was saying, no, this is very scary. This is dangerous territory. So it's very interesting to me, and this is why I wanted to share this in the show. I didn't even know that your brain can think one thing and then your trauma can tell you something else. It's like your body stores trauma in it, and it can be very different from what you're thinking. So I didn't know all this, and I actually ended up reading a book, which I think if any of you guys are interested in this kind of topics, it's called The Body Keeps the Score, and it's about how PTSD is trapped inside our bodies. So some small little thing, it could be like the sound of a certain song, it could be like a certain smell in the room, it could be something super benign that has nothing to do with related like harm, and it can send your body into full-blown panic, a panic attack, a depression spiral. Like it's like associated with that whole thing. And that's what I started experiencing. So even though I was on the phone, I'd be on the Skype session talking with my family, super happy to reconnect. We're having good conversations, we're bonding, they don't say anything rude, and all of a sudden after the hour of Skype, I have a full-blown panic attack. Like I'm talking like a seizure panic attack. Like I'm falling on the ground. I can't speak. I can't stop. And I'm like, what is going on with me? Like, I can't really process what is wrong. There's nothing really wrong, but my body is violently reacting to this. So this kept occurring. I mean, sometimes I'd have good sessions and sometimes I wouldn't. But what I would do is, even after these Skype sessions with my family, which I was very happy to reconnect with, after it finished, I would go through this whole like catastrophizing type of mentality. I would go and try to like, I don't even know what the right word is. It's like when you're trying to overanalyze.
Yeah, I was just about to say overanalyze.
Is that it? Overanalyze the whole conversation.
Yeah, you start playing it back in your head.
And I like start to create a narrative that's not there. That, I mean, I didn't know if it was there or not, but I would find some evil thing about what we just talked about. Oh, they forgot to ask me how I'm doing. Oh, they didn't ask me enough about my life. Oh, they don't care about how I feel. And it's like, I created a narrative out of thin air because my body and my mind was so used to being betrayed that I had to find it in there. And I didn't know this is what I was doing. I literally just kept doing it subconsciously. And then I'm like, why am I feeling so shitty after talking to the family that I love and I've missed them and now they're back in my life? Why is this happening? And so this kept occurring. Like I said, I didn't know what was happening, so I'm explaining it to you now, but my mind was still kind of like confused. So I was like, wait a minute, I'm happy, but I'm depressed. I'm happy, but I'm anxious. Like, what the fuck is going on? And so I had to go to therapy for this, and I would go to the therapist and be like, what is happening? They're like, you have PTSD. Like, you cannot, your body is so protecting you. Your ego, your body, your subconscious is protecting you against more betrayal and more pain because you experience such devastating pain that it's basically like you lost your family in a car accident or to cancer. Like you grieved them. Like if you had this span of 13 years to grieve the loss of someone, that's like the same period of time you could grieve death, or worse, maybe someone goes missing and you don't know what happens to them. And the problem with the mind, when it grieves something and it doesn't get closure, it's actually worse. It's called prolonged grief, and it's even more painful, and it's even more like persistent, and it will create narratives to fill in the blanks because your mind wants to know what the fuck is happening. And if it doesn't know why, it creates a narrative. So I didn't know all these things. I just knew what I felt. It felt shitty. I felt anxious. I felt depressed instantly within a second of a conversation. I could go into a full-blown depression where I couldn't get up. I couldn't eat. I just literally felt shitty. And I hadn't been feeling this way. Not to say I haven't had moments of depression, but I would say really in my life, I've only been depressed 2 times. Once after I got kicked out of the church for 6 months when I became no-show at work, which is forever ago. I was like 22. I'm 37 now. And then that one time when COVID hit and I had chest pain, I couldn't get up, I couldn't eat. And it was after I'd reconnected with my family. My dog had passed, Tyler, my brother-in-law had passed. There was a lot of things that culminated into a depression. Those are the only 2 times I've ever really been depressed in my life, where I literally could not shut it off. It was just ruminating negative thoughts. And then I would say both of those times also I felt suicidal. Not ever committing it, not ever trying it, never getting to the point where I thought of a plan or anything like that. I just felt so low that I was like, I don't understand why I'm here. I don't know what the point of everything is. I feel low enough to not care about myself, and I feel low enough not to care about my family, which after I've had Aria, I've been like, it doesn't matter what the fuck happens. I'm here for her. I was low enough to be like, I don't know if I'm even here for that. And so that's how I know I got really low. But yeah, so this is real trauma. This definitely really strongly affected me. But now it came to the point that I had to deal with my PTSD because it's affecting my daily life. I'm having panic attacks daily. I'm losing weight. I can't, you guys know I love fitness. I love to work out. I'm a very high energy person. I like to have awesome, energetic conversation. I'm always happy to please everyone I'm around. I'm not really going to hang out with you unless I'm uppity and happy, kind of upbeat. So to be like this was very devastating. And I needed to fix it. And it even got to the point where I was having really scary moments of my panic attacks. Like my panic attack would like literally, I think there was one where, Dave, Marie, and Grace were there, and I ran outside because at the time I'd been seeing, I think, a cognitive behavioral therapist, and she was saying, if you get exposed to the trigger, give yourself some time, like go walk it off, go cool off, give yourself some fresh air, distract yourself. So I went outside to get away from it. I didn't even know it was triggering me at the time. That's the other thing. You don't know what's triggering you. You don't know what's triggering you. So it's like, I can't even avoid the trigger because I don't know what just triggered me. And it takes you analyzing an after fact to even figure out where it came from. Because it's so deeply subconscious. It's not even on the surface. So that moment I ran outside. I knew I was being triggered because I was feeling panicked. And I was really like fight or flight mode. Like I kind of go to the space where I'm either going to panic or I want to fight back. So I want to like overly defend myself or like tell someone how they hurt me to kind of like not get hurt again. So anyways, I run outside, try to get away from it and everyone. And I literally, that's it. My panic attack kicked in. I fell to the floor. My head was banging against the concrete near my pool. Like I had no control of my body. If I fell in the pool, I fell in the pool. I was going to drown. Like I had zero control of my body. I couldn't stop the panic attack. I couldn't make it shorter. I couldn't breathe my way out of it. Like I did not have control of my body. So that was scary. I didn't even know panic attacks could look seizure-like. So that was also trippy. And then there's a couple other ones where I was like, damn, these are legit. Like I can't just be like living like this. I had one in the bathtub once because a lot of times to calm down my anxiety, I would take hot baths. And I had one in the bath and I literally almost drowned. I was like, tonic-clonic seizure, going under the water. And thank God Dave was there because I can't speak. I can't scream. I can't yell out. It's scary. And I think Dave caught me that time. But what the hell? Like, I mean, this shit has to stop. So at the time, I think I was like, okay, this is getting out of hand. I'd never really been super vulnerable about my mental health with my audiences, my Instagram and my social media following. But I was just so desperate. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to put this out there. I have a lot of nurse followers. I have a lot of people in the medical field. I have a lot of people that have always shared their therapies and suggestions with me. I'm going to put this out there and see what people have to say. Like, is anyone else dealing with this kind of stuff? And I put out one of the, like I said, from like the very first episode, one of my most engaging posts on my Instagram to date is the video of me that I caught on my Ring camera of me having a panic attack. And this wasn't even one of the worst ones, but I did fall to the floor and lose control. Was like 2,000 to 3,000 comments of people saying like, oh my gosh, thank you for posting this. I've had similar experiences. I'm having panic attacks. Thank you for shedding light on this. Thank you for bringing reality instead of just posting, perfection all over social media. A lot of us get caught up in the highlight reel of Instagram or TikTok or social media, YouTube, whatever. And we forget to post relatable content. We forget to post stuff that could actually help people. So I got a ton of feedback, including people commenting like what therapies and modalities could help. So I got people like sending me like herbal remedies, ashwagandha, mushrooms. I even had like suggestions on plant medicine. So ayahuasca, which if you've never heard of it before, it's a very intense psychedelic plant. It's made out of like leaves. I think it's like vine leaves from the Amazon. They put two of them together. They brew them together like a tea. You take it. It's a disgusting, nasty, chalky coffee-like, substance, but you take it and you go on a whole psychedelic journey of like what's through your subconscious. And it's really intense. And it's actually crazy because had I not posted that video to my social media, I probably wouldn't have heard of ayahuasca, because at that time, as like the 2021 maybe, it was still a little underground. It's not except I don't even think it's legal in America. You can get it in Peru, Costa Rica, some of these other like South American countries where it's been practiced medicinally for thousands of years, but it's still very underground. It's not out in any holistic facility in America. So had I been doing my research, I wouldn't have found that. So thank God I posted on social media and you guys helped me and you told me about it. So I was so desperate at the point. First of all, guys, I am a nurse, but I don't believe that medication is the first line of treatment for most things. One of the reasons I kind of stepped away from, medications and all that stuff was because I do believe a lot of the times you can heal yourself naturally from natural things. So whether it's diet, exercise, stress relief, meditations, there's definitely a lot of healthy, natural modalities. And so I'm not a big person about taking medications. I'm not against it. I don't think that nobody should be taking medications for mental health issues. I know that there are people that do really well, whether it's antidepressants or anti-anxiety medications. It can really help people that have neurochemical imbalances. But me personally, I did not want to have that be my first line of like treatment or therapy. And then of course you have facilities that'll take you for different reasons, whether it's depression, suicidal ideation, PTSD, trauma, all these things that can take you to a facility to kind of do talk therapy, group therapy work, things like that. But I was like, I really don't want to be taken away from my daughter for 30 to 60 days. She was only at the time, maybe a year and a half or two. Was she a year and a half? Probably around a year and a half when it first happened, and then up to 2. But those years are very formative years. For children to be taken from their parents that young of an age, it can really leave a heavy impact on their attachments, like them be getting attached. I did not want that to be the option either, even though it was an option out there. And I'm not against facilities either. I think facilities developed specifically for what you have, because we had actually done some research, me and Dave, we found like a 30 or 60 day facility that had trauma as that's the specific modality that they were going to help with, whether it's group therapy or cognitive behavioral therapy. But like I said, so I wasn't excited about meds. I wasn't excited about going away, to a facility. And so I was like, what else can I do? And you guys posted ayahuasca ceremony. So here I am. Okay, I need to figure out what this ayahuasca stuff is. I'm one of those people that if I go down a rabbit hole, I'm going down the full rabbit hole. Like everything the internet has to offer about ayahuasca, I will find it. I'll research it. I'll watch every documentary. I'll read every review. I'll watch every podcast. Like I'm going to go down that rabbit hole. So that's what I did. And in a matter of a couple weeks, I'd already figured out everything there is to know. Like it's a psychedelic. It's a plant medicine. Here's all the places you could do it. Here's the facilities to do it, the recommendations, the testimonials. And so I found out what there is to know without actually taking it. I knew everything there was to know. And I found this, facility in Costa Rica. I think it's called Rhythmia, and they actually do a full week-long retreat where you come in and you could take this medicine. They do it for 4 days in a row with some other modalities like yoga and meditation and things like that. But I really fell in love with the fact that they had a doctor and ICU staff, nursing staff to really make sure that everything is, all the background checks are done, whatever your health, mental health and physical health will be like top priority. And I wanted to know that. And I also heard like other celebrities had been there and things like that. So I was really looking for something that I trusted, because when I've never really dabbled in psychedelics like that. This was going to be a whole trip for me, a whole brand new trip. And I was very scared, I had a lot of anxieties about it. And so that's what we did. We went ahead and signed up for this. And because the panic attacks weren't getting better, my depression wasn't getting better, my anxiety wasn't getting better, I was like, okay, I guess this is it. Like I need to do something for myself. I need to do something for my daughter. And I went ahead and went to the facility. Now the first night, I will tell you, I've never done something so intense. So if you've done other psychedelics, mushrooms, LSD, whatever, you might know what it's like to hallucinate. You might know what it's like to feel out of body experiences. But I had never really done anything that intense. And we took the brew. Me particular, I was on a site where we're in Costa Rica. It's a very jungly atmosphere. There's all these like little, little houses in the jungle, these massive freaking grasshoppers. Like you could tell you're like near the Amazon, or you're near the jungle, not the Amazon, but you're in the jungle. There's massive howler monkeys in the trees. You got these massive freaking grasshoppers that terrified me. And I'm like, oh my God, I'm like in the middle of the jungle about to do some crazy psychedelic shit. And I was like, okay, we're going to rock and roll. And Dave came with me. We're in this temple. They call it the Maloka. Everybody's on their mattress and they're all getting ready to sit down, take the medicine. Several people had already been through this experience and they looked kind of overly like excited. And I was just like, I don't know. This is really crazy shit I'm about to do. My anxiety's level 10. It couldn't be worse. I have no idea what to expect, but I also don't know how to like not be fearful. And so we laid on our mat, we take the medicine, and within like 45 minutes is when the effects started to hit. In this room, like I told you, there's 90 people, 90 mats. There's a lot of people. Everyone's just sitting down with their hands crossed over their chest, with their eyes closed, going into their spiritual experience. And I immediately start seeing these like pintas, like these colors go in and out like a kaleidoscope in and out of my head. I'm just seeing it visually. I open my eyes, I can kind of still see it. I close my eyes, I could see it way, way more like visually stimulating. And I'm just like, oh my God, like where am I? Why am I here? And I just automatically went into full-blown panic mode. And I'm like, how is this, helping me? I don't know how this is going to help me heal me by freaking me out with lots of colors and shapes that I'm not ready to see. But yeah, it was very interesting because I was there to heal. I didn't know how it really worked, but I had been told by many people that this is one way to heal your subconscious, to heal your fears, heal your anxieties. And they even say it's 10 years of therapy in one night, which if you guys know, like, oh my gosh, I've been in therapy. I mean, specifically for CPTSD, I've been in therapy for like over 3 years, maybe closer to 4. But if I could not do therapy for 10 years, I'm saving myself a lot of money and a lot of time and stress. So I was like, hell yeah, let's just rock out for one night. So here I am, I'm seeing the pintas, I'm panicking, and I look across the room, everybody's chilling. Now, mind you, I am on the younger age of the spectrum. I would say a lot of people are in their 40s, 50s, and 60s. I was 35 or 36 at the time, and I was one of the younger people. There was like one random 20-year-old kid with his dad or something like that, but most people are older. So I didn't know if that was the reason. I couldn't really figure it out, but I kept looking up and I going over to the other shaman. There's about like 13, 14, 15 shaman, and some of them were playing the tribal music. This was supposed to enhance the effects of the visuals, enhance the effects of the sounds, and kind of give you this whole spiritual tribal experience. They're shaking like different incense around the room. They have like feathers and drums, and it's very tribal. It's super tribal feeling. And, when you're tripping, you can kind of create a lot of weird narratives around that. And I definitely did. So I was like, oh my God, I'm part of like this tribal cult now. This is kind of fucked up. And then I'm like, no, am I in a tribal cult? No, I'm not. I'm actually in a witchy cult, because they started doing witchy shit, and they're like shaking these little like fans around with feathers or spitting shit in my face. I'm like, what the fuck am I part of? Like, I went from one cult to the next. Like, this is really fucked up. And I just couldn't like let go. I could not like relax. This experience was like intense. And I'm also looking around and everybody's chilling. So I'm like, wait a minute, why am I the only freak that can't get her shit together? Everyone else is laying on their mat like this is the most beautiful experience they've ever had. And I'm over here like, get me out of here. So yeah, I was just like, what the fuck? And I remember like leaving the Maloka. You could walk out if you want and go out to the grass. You could look up at the stars. You could go by the fire. You could go to the hammock. So there's like these peaceful places to go and like let the medicine calm down. But no, the medicine is gonna go where it's gonna go. It's gonna take you to the moon, take you to the Mars. They're gonna take you wherever it's gonna take you. You can't really stop that ride. So even though I'm like stumbling out the Maloka, trying to run from my trip, I'm like trying to run from my experience that I don't want to have. The shaman, the cute little shaman, they're wearing all these like white little dresses, and they're like, no, come back. You want to be over here in the protected area. And I'm like, what do you mean protected? This whole thing in my head is really fucked up. And they're like, yeah, no, just come on back. The medicine's like trying to teach you something. And I'm like, why do they keep calling it medicine? I was just like, this is definitely drugs. I was like, this is for sure drugs. If I know what drugs are, this is drugs. So I remember like talking to the shaman. I was like, hey, so how long have I been tripping? And she's like, oh, we're only in like 10 minutes in or something like that. I'm like, whoa, we have like 6 hours to go. I'm like, I'm going to lose my mind. So I'm like, you know what? I got to get out of here. So I start to panic. I go out the Maloka, I go to the right, I find a golf cart, and I start like trying to drive away. And they're like, no, you can't do that. Like, you're going to trip. And if you trip, you're going to be like in the forest tripping by yourself where nobody can help you. And I was like, that sounds pretty shitty. So I turned around and came back. And it was very interesting because you could just, the way they call it the medicine. And when you do it for the first time, you also will probably question if it's medicine or if it's drugs. It causes you to meet your fears. Okay. So the whole point of the medicine is you're going to face your demons, your fears, your anxieties, and you have to, until you release them, they'll keep coming up. So my fear is being controlled. My fear is being part of a cult. My fear is people kind of betraying me and fucking with me. So I assume the shamans are fucking with me, like everything's going really south and I gotta get in control of this ship. Right. So that was me. And it's funny because they tell you the way it works is it's your ego. So all of us have our ego, right? Our ego protects us from all of our shit in life, whether it's pain, trauma, abuse, betrayal, being taken advantage of, like everything that you could be hurt by someone or something, our ego kind of learns to protect us from. And our ego might become shy and withdrawn. Our ego might become super dominant and aggressive. Like it finds a way to protect you in the environment you were maybe not protected in. And so I learned, okay, don't trust anyone, don't trust anything, everything's out to get you. That's kind of how my ego perceives the world. So I had to break that down. And that's what the medicine does, is it breaks down what your ego tells you and brings you back to like actual reality, not the story that your ego told you, but the story that could be reality. So I fought the medicine for 2 hours. So for 2 hours, I'm running around. I'm talking to different shaman. This shaman's bringing me back in. That one's bringing me back in. And by the time the 2 hours, because it was a 6-hour ceremony, you're tripping balls for 6 hours. And you go through a lot of different visions and colors and sounds. And you go through a lot of happy emotions. And then you go through maybe like a little bit dark, serious, scary emotions. And then back to the happy. And you're about a full body high. Like, it's a whole experience, like nothing more intense I've ever experienced in my entire life. And I have done a couple of party drugs, so I know a little bit about that. But anyways, so I fought the medicine for 2 hours, and then I kept coming up to her, and the shaman, who was super sweet and patient with my rebellious ass, she was like, yeah, just close your eyes and just let the medicine work. And I'm like, God, why do they keep calling it medicine? And I was like, and I kept asking her, okay, listen, sis. Why am I here? Who brought me here? What's going on? Well, let's be friends. Like, let's make nicey nice. We'll be best friends. You tell me what's going on. I'll be your friend. So here I'm negotiating with this girl who, she knows what's up. She's done this medicine many times. And she's like, listen, just close your eyes and surrender. I'm like, surrender? Okay, cool, whatever. That's like the last thing on my priority list is to surrender, but okay, cool. So I lay back down, and I finally, at some point, I don't know what made me relax, but she's like, just take deep breaths, close your eyes, and see what it shows you. And I finally did. I let go. You have to let go of that, like, holding your breath feeling. You have to let go of the fight or flight, right? You're like, oh, I want to fight someone. I want to leave. And I did. And it was very uncomfortable because the visuals get very intense depending on like your experience or your, how much medicine you took or whatever. And I all of a sudden started seeing these like things like this woman, and it's like this, you saw this like tunnel, right? So if I'm like on the outside of the tunnel, and then you could go into the tunnel and get to like a realm or a dimension. And I'm like, I'm not trying to go in that tunnel. That looks like a fucked up tunnel for sure. And the way they say with ayahuasca, you have to surrender and let go. So you don't ask, if something gets scary or, kind of triggers you, you have to take a deep breath. It sounds like really cliche, and just take a deep breath and go into it. And don't ask, what the hell is that thing I'm looking at? But you ask, why am I seeing that? So if you can get to a place where you can ask, why am I seeing it? It's kind of like if you watch a movie. So if I'm in a room where I think there's like a murderer or like I'm in a horror film, if I think I'm in the room, I'm definitely going to freak out. But if I think that I'm watching a film and I know it's not real, it's not happening to me, it's just happening in front of me, then I can step back as a witness and I can learn from it, right? I can learn not to do what the girl's doing in the horror film. I can learn not to do these other things without being like feeling like I'm being attacked, right? Because I'm a witness now. I'm not really the girl in the scene. So that's what you have to do with ayahuasca. You kind of step back and you witness what's being done in front of you. It could be scary. It could be like a demonic figure. It could be like it will show you some scary shit. It will show you traumas, memories from your past. Maybe you unlock repressed memories, things that you never wanted to see or have seen. It'll show you predictions of like scary things that you anticipate. Maybe you're scared of like, I don't know, heights, and it'll show you falling, or maybe you're scared of a certain type of way to die. It'll show you that. I'm not saying it will show you every time, but it can. And the whole point of it is not to scare you the fuck out, which you clearly can do if you want to. The whole point is to release the fear. So it's almost like you see the fear, you witness it. It doesn't actually happen to you. It's just showing you what it would be like. You move past it and you say, okay, thank you for showing me that. Now I learn that I should be grateful that thing didn't happen to me, so it gives you a sense of perspective, and it helps you overcome fear and anxiety by moving through the thing that hurt you, by saying, oh, I made it to the other side of that thing, instead of like trying to avoid it. When you're in the medicine, the more you avoid it, the more it chases you. So it's kind of like a thing in life where if we avoid our fears, they grow and they can actually turn into phobias. And anyone who's studied this can actually attest to this. The more you avoid a problem in your life, whether it's a fear, an anxiety, a trigger, the more you avoid a trigger, the more it will haunt you. It actually snowballs and it gets worse and worse and worse. And so it was showing me that in the ceremony. And it was showing me, like, as this woman brought me in and I went into my little vision and I went into her room, she showed me different parts of like my life, some of my memories where she was there with me the whole time. And kind of what they tell you in ayahuasca is, so she's like Mother Nature, right? She's plant mother. Sometimes they call her grandmother, sometimes they call her mother, but she's a woman and she's nature. She's basically the healing part of nature. And so it's a plant, and it's soothing and it's healing. So it's going to help you heal, like a medicine would, like a salve would. And so you kind of learn, okay, whatever I'm going through, there's a reason for it, and it's going to make me stronger, and it's make me better, and it's going to ground me, and it's going to heal me. So whatever you're going through, you need to keep telling yourself, I'm going to heal once I'm done looking at this, even if it might be scary. And so people will see some of their traumas or repressed memories, and they can, instead of holding so much anger or anxiety or fear around it for the rest of their life, they can say, okay, thank you for showing me that. That's not my life anymore. And I can release this with love, or release this with forgiveness, or release this pain. And you can physically feel the pain leave your chest, or wherever the pain was. Maybe you stored it in your chest, maybe you stored it in your stomach, maybe you stored it in your back, and you can release that trauma and you feel it come out of your body. And it's insane. Like, it's so powerful. I felt like a 10 out of 10 chest pain slowly get pulled out of my body. And then you also do a purging. So sometimes if you have like pains or traumas in your body, you can purge them. Not a pleasant part of the experience. Like, most people are like really like not wanting to throw up, but it actually happens. And you don't drink or eat before, so you're really kind of just dry heaving and you purge, but you physically purge things out. So I saw during my ceremony, I purged out fear of abandonment. I physically would vomit into my bucket, and I saw the word fear of abandonment, and then I saw fear of rejection, fear of isolation, fear of a lot of things. I had like 15 to 20 fears that I've been trapping in my body for this whole, 13 plus years. And anger, anxiety, it was just, and I was feeling it just purge on my body. And that's why they say it's 10 years of therapy in one night, because you actually do, instead of just knowing that you have it, you get to physically purge it out. It's coming out. You can feel it release. And so it's very powerful. And then there's healing parts where, the medicine will show you beautiful things, like, this is your daughter, and this is why you have a daughter. It'll show you like, this is love, and this is what it feels like to be loved. And it'll come in all throughout your body. I felt it come into my heart, and it made my heart beat out of my chest into like an explosion of like love and compassion and just pure joy. Like, I never felt like tingling all throughout my arms and my legs, just like I'm going to be lifted right off the mat. And so when I finally released and surrendered, I've had an amazing experience. And this particular facility has like 3 different intentions. So when you go into the medicine, there's like 3 different things. If you don't know why you're there or what healing you're trying to achieve, you can look up at the wall, and these are the 3 different intentions to kind of focus on. While you're tripping balls and you forget why the fuck you're there, you look up at the wall and it's like, this is why you're here. Okay, cool. So one of them is, I think, show me who I've become. So let's say you came there and you didn't really realize you're kind of an abusive person, or you didn't realize you had addiction problems that you really need to heal. Like this medicine will make you face that mirror and look at it and say, here's your mirror. So you might have to sit with the shame a little bit. You can purge the shame out. You can start to love yourself again. So it is a very healing experience. That's the first intention. The second intention will be like, heal my heart at all. No, I'm sorry. Merge my heart back with my soul, or merge my soul back with my body, something like that. And it's basically saying, like, from the cradle to the grave, we have like our pure innocent self, and then we have like what society and culture does to us, and this goes this way, and this is where you would have been if you weren't tainted by things. And so your soul's like, woo, going off over here and doing some crazy shit, and then it's like, wait, do you want to come back and be who you're meant to be? So it really helps you guide you back to your purpose, your meaning, whatever it is you kind of came here to do. So that's a really powerful experience. And then the third intention that they say is to heal my heart at all costs. So this can be tricky, because if you went through some serious trauma, and it could be like physical, it could be violent, it could be like very visually disturbing or physically disturbing, it might make you face that thing so that you can release it. If it was a phobia, like I actually had one phobia that I could say I would identify it as a phobia, not just a fear and anxiety, but I physically would go into a full-blown panic and probably let you rob me of my car and my house and my keys if you put it near me. And I had a phobia of cockroaches, like full-blown, like not like, oh, like what you can rob me, you could take my kid and my everything. So I was like, this is not good. And I actually, through ayahuasca and some other modalities, figured out why I had a phobia. But the way phobias work is the more you avoid it, the more power you give it. You give that trigger, you give that avoidance, right? So I'm going to avoid crowds. Okay, now I'm not going out. Okay, now I'm really not going to go out, and I'm thinking about how bad crowds are. Then I go back into crowds, I realize how bad they are. You just let it snowball, and it lets one fear and negative feedback loop create such a massive situation that now you're trained to have a fight or flight with the association of this thing. So that's what I did with cockroaches for some reason. And I had a couple associations. I can't remember why I went off on this tangent. Oh, to tell you, to heal my heart at all costs. So like, for instance, the phobia, the ayahuasca would show you cockroaches in different modalities, maybe. Like, okay, here's some cockroaches in a pretty field of daisies, or, it's going to show it to you in a different way. Or it might even show you the first time that you thought it was really scary, and then it pivots into a joke, and it pivots into something funny, and it pivots into something beautiful. And now all of a sudden your association with cockroaches is not all bad. It's starting to become good, and it started to become funny, and now it's lighthearted, and now it's healing. So this is a way to get like repeated exposure in a way that can heal you. So in one like vision through this medicine, now you no longer have a phobia of something you've been having a phobia of for years. And it could do this with other phobias, like phobias of crowds, phobias of blah, 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 blah. So it's really, really interesting that this medicine can do that. And it's going through your own subconscious. It's basically bringing out the thoughts and feelings and emotions and memories that you have in your own brain. It's using your own brain to help heal you. So it's really, you can't get mad at it because it's your own brain. And it's amazing. And so that was a really cool experience. And I definitely would say I got a lot of healing from it. I learned fears, anxieties. I learned how to heal phobias, and I did some more work after the fact. Once you do I will say one other part of the ceremony that was really impactful. At the time, like I said, I had the PTSD, so I was having these triggers related to betrayal trauma, and I was able to heal that part of my heart. So because I had so much anxiety and pain around my parents, like what I perceived to be my parents abandoning me, or the church abandoning me, or my friends abandoning me, people I loved abandoning me, and perceiving it that way for so long, I couldn't get past it. I had a lot of anger. I had a lot of, I felt like I was betrayed. So I felt angry. I felt anxious. I felt depressed. I felt like, I don't know, like just very resentful. And I don't know how to get past that, or how to forgive that. Like, how do you forgive that? How do you forgive being kept from someone for 15 years? Like, it's hard. It's almost impossible. And so one of my intentions with going into it is, how do I heal this part of me that's so angry? Because I can't undo what happened. And I saw in the vision. So first it was like me as a small little baby, a cute little baby in a crib. like a bird's eye view over the whole world. And it's very, very visually stimulating. And then I saw this baby and all the people around this baby just scattered. So it was like a baby in a crib, everyone scatters. And I was like, oh shit, I'm cold alone and no one's here. Like everyone just abandoned me. And then I saw like Mother Ayahuasca was saying, no, I was here the whole time. Like God was here, nature was here, everyone was here. We were here to protect you, even though you thought you were alone. And it kind of just showed me like you perceived that you were alone, but you weren't alone. And I've always been here to help you. I've always been here to like give you like healing through nature. And it would like show me like the waves of the ocean. It would show me like trees moving around. And it just showed me like nature can heal you and nature's here, Mother Nature's here, and God is here. And you don't always need these people. And then it showed me as the little baby in the crib, it flipped into my father as a baby. And then it flipped into my mother as a baby. And it showed me that every baby that like if that parent maybe did something traumatic, whether it's neglectful or abusive or traumatic to their kid, they experienced that themselves. So that baby experienced it and that baby experienced it. And it shows like generational trauma being passed down through the lineage. And I was like, oh my God, I never thought that my parents could have felt betrayed. I never thought that they could have felt abandoned. I never thought that they could have felt neglected. And I did. I saw that. And I was like, holy shit. Once I saw that they used to be a baby, an innocent baby, and that they experienced the same shit that I would have never done to a baby, then I can have empathy now because it's a baby. Who can't not empathize with a baby, you know? So I felt this huge relief, like of like pain go out of my chest and like empathy and like forgiveness. And it was very, very healing. So I was like, oh my God. And that was my first ayahuasca ceremony. So I got all 3 intentions in one night, which a lot of people, it takes them 2 to 3 nights or even 4 nights to get to all their intentions. I just felt like my heart was so open to receiving these messages. Maybe that's why I got it in one night, but it was powerful. Now, it was very intense. Like I said, the first 2 hours were a little traumatizing. So I'm not going to lie. It's a very heavy therapy. So do your research, get your mind and heart prepared, talk to your therapist, see if you're open and ready. But I've gone to now 2 ceremonies. So I've witnessed 90 people in the first ceremony. And then my second ceremony, which I did in July of 2022 with a good friend of mine. And I saw more similar healing modalities, and I was able to purge out more anxieties. I was able to purge out fears. I was able to heal relationships in my life that had been estranged, and to reach another level of like acceptance. Like radical acceptance is basically where you can forgive something. You can forgive something or someone even if they aren't sorry, which is insanely hard to do if you mentally think about it. I can say I forget someone and still hold a grudge. Like you can say, oh, I forgive you, but low-key you're like, okay, don't fuck with me again. You know, like it's really hard to actually get to the spot where you're open and you're like, okay, this is a fresh slate, clean slate. You can treat, I'm not going to have expectations. I'm not going to be disappointed. It's very difficult to reach that spot. And I think with this modalities, I was able to get there. And then you can do other healing modalities after the fact. Like you can do like hypnotherapy. I've done several sessions of hypnotherapy, which is similar. You can get into your subconscious, except without using drugs or psychedelics. You could do EMDR, which is eye movement desensitization something. I forget what the R stands for. But it's basically another form of like hypnosis where you can get into your alpha waves, where you can access certain memories and make a lot more connections to your subconscious using a trained therapist, and you can access these memories and actually release painful memories. So a lot of times our memories that are painful, they stay trapped in our body and they create anxiety, anger, addiction, self-loathing, a lot of things in our bodies. And so we can release those if we do the heavy work. And I would say hypnotherapy and EMDR were really effective at being like very gentle. You know, because after doing ayahuasca, I was like, okay, anything's got to be more gentle than ayahuasca. And they are. So you're not going to vomit. You're not going to see colors. You're not going to see visions. You're not going to be panicking. You literally can open your eyes. Okay, you don't want to be on this journey anymore. Your eyes are open. Hello, you're fine. You can literally leave the room right now if you want to. So yeah, and then they've been very effective. But I would say like my PTSD is almost next to none. I don't want to jinx it, but I don't have panic attacks anymore. After my first ceremony, I didn't have panic attacks for 6 to 8 to 9 months, where I was having them every single day. I didn't feel depressed. I felt motivated. I felt like I could take on the world. I ended up doing the next ayahuasca. So the first one was October 2021. The second was July 2022. So the reason I did it again is I just thought I needed a little tune up. I could use a little bit more healing work. I could do some more Yeah. And so I don't think it was like an emergency like the first one was, but the second one was definitely like, okay, I can do some more work. I can be more intentional with my thoughts. I want to face some of these fears, because if you face them, they're released. You don't have to like keep hiding from them. You don't have to keep avoiding them. And what's so crazy is like, I used to think you're supposed to avoid your triggers, avoid them, because then they don't hurt you, right? No, it's opposite. If you avoid your triggers, they grow and they get worse and they get scarier and they hurt you harder because you've had time to build up a narrative in your head and create this monster that's not even there. So it's crazy how our anxieties are actually worse than the reality. Like our sometimes our perception and our narrative that we create is doing more damage than the actual thing that exists. There's like some phrase that says something about like, I don't know how many percentage of things are all self-made problems. Like your anxieties are self-made problems. They're not actually problems. Like if someone has a car accident in front of you, okay, there's a problem. It's there. You can't, like you didn't anticipate it. You weren't worrying about it all day, just to happen. But if you're thinking about a car accident all day long, every day, for weeks, that's your own problem. Like you're creating that narrative, you're creating that problem inside of you. So anxieties and worries, they don't actually help you at all. They actually devastate you, and they waste time and energy, and they kind of ruin like communication. They ruin your day, they ruin your energy. So why not purge them? Why not face them and purge them and then not have to deal with them like all day, every day for 10 to 15 years, So I watched a lot of other people heal a lot of other parts of them. He actually told us his story, which was insanely thought-provoking and insanely humbling. Like I didn't even go through physical trauma or sexual trauma. And some people have gone through things like that. And in the ceremony, I had many, many people telling me they were either molested or they were going through really, really heavy stuff that they had to uncover. And the owner himself told us that he found out through ayahuasca. Well, really, he went to ayahuasca originally because he was heavy into alcohol and drugs and womanizing, and he didn't like the person he was becoming, so he wanted to fix that. But after doing the work, he discovered that he hated himself, that the reason he was doing all these extra things that didn't even make him feel fulfilled was because he had self-loathing. And when he went even further into his ceremonies, he discovered the reason he has self-loathing is because he was molested as a child. And he would have never known that, because it was subconscious. It was buried. It was hidden. He didn't even have access to these memories. He didn't even know that was why he hated himself. So the thing is, it's so ironic about these. Sometimes we hate ourselves and we don't even know it, or like we're burying things and we're self-medicating. And I've been there. When I was having panic attacks every day, I was drinking wine and alcohol every day just to be calm. Like I was self-medicating. I knew I was doing it. I made excuses because I was like, you know what? I can stop drinking. I can function. I'm not like doing all these other things. But it got to the point where I was like, okay, I'm drinking because I'm anxious. I'm not drinking because I want to. So yeah, anyways, and when you hear these stories, like he was able to overcome a beast. He overcame being molested as a child. And on top of that, he overcame being molested as a child by his own grandfather. That's a beast. That's a freaking beast. I don't think you could think of anything more devastating. That's PTSD right there. That's self-loathing. The person who's supposed to care for you is actually abusing you and traumatizing you, and you have to overcome that. Like, how do you do that? In real life, I don't think we do. Like, if we don't do the work and we don't try to heal and we can't figure out a way to love ourselves and release the self-loathing that someone gave us, it's crazy, because when the thing with trauma is you're not responsible for it, but you are accountable, if that makes sense. So like you were not the person that caused that action, but as an adult, once we get to a certain age, now we're accountable for who we are. And if we don't stop that chain of abuse, whatever happens to us will become our cycle. And it's honestly almost impossible for it to not happen. It's a chain of events. It's a cycle of abuse. Abuse will pass down the line of generations if it's not like severely stopped, and it will always, it sometimes rears its head in ugly ways. Like he could have become someone who passed it on because he developed the same abuse, like someone molests someone and that person molests someone. It can keep passing along that way. Or the self-loathing, and now he internalizes his pain on himself and he projects it onto other people. I hate all people because I hate myself. Let me treat people like shit because I was treated like shit. It's like the hurt people that hurt people. But if you don't address literally the issue, you don't find out why you're so critical of yourself, or why you're so critical of others, or why you hate people, or why you project on people, then you're never going to heal yourself or anyone around you. And so it's really interesting to me because even though we all have very different like pasts and different ways we were mistreated or whatever, we're all getting the same medicine. Like, how crazy is that? Everyone in the room, 90 different people of all different walks of life, all different ages, all different backgrounds. Here's your cup of medicine. Fix what you have. None of us even know what's wrong with you. You don't even know what's wrong with you, but take this medicine and then be better tomorrow. And they're all like, oh my God, they're having like massive spiritual awakenings and massive shifts in energy and forgiveness and healing. And I'm like, damn, there's something about that magical potion. So I don't know. That's like my story about that. And I have other things like that I've been through in terms of like helping heal and healing modalities. So ayahuasca is not the only thing I say that heals, but for me, it was the most intense and the most rapid way of uncovering my subconscious fears, my anxieties, helping me to heal things and forgive things that felt unforgivable. Because I think a lot of us have things that happen in our life where we're like, that's unforgivable. You can't do that to me ever again. Or if you do it once, I'll block you. If you do it once, you're deleted, you're unfriended, like whatever. Where actually in this space, everything can be forgiven, which is insane. Anything and everything can be forgiven. The most heinous of crimes, like, I don't think our society's ever given us that out. And so we harbor and carry this anger and contention our whole lives, and it really just eats us away from the inside. You know, harboring that anger and resentment, anger over the long haul actually just causes disease. The only time anger is actually, which I've learned because I've had anger issues, I'll go into my anger issues in a different episode because that's a whole nother beast. But the thing I learned about anger is it is super painful and it'll cause disease and eat you away from the inside. Anger, resentment, grudges, all these things where we don't release that pain, we don't forgive someone. We think we're protecting ourselves because we're holding I'm gonna hold this grudge so this person can't hurt me again. It's your body is eating that anger inside of you. And so your thoughts are negative, the negative thoughts are creating negative chemistry in your body. You're creating fight or flight, you're creating adrenaline, you're creating cortisol. Like the whole thing is a nightmare. And then you have back pain and stomach issues and like all this stuff. So it's actually much better just to purge it out and not hold on to it. And you're not really protecting yourself by having an angry ego. You're not really protecting yourself by holding grudges. You're actually just becoming bitter from the inside out. And that's something I had to learn. I didn't know that. I thought I was a happy person. I didn't know I was bitter about things, but apparently I was. But yeah, so that's kind of like the intro to my story on how I was triggered, PTSD, and all those topics. I want to hear what you guys have to say, what other topics you'd like to hear from me. And I think next week I'll be having my other surprise guests I'll share with you guys. So thank you for tuning in and have a great day, guys.